reach thousands of education-minded users daily. Advertise on Nakatomi. Good day, students. Today, we are going to talk about the molecules that makes the plant cells different. But before that, let us all recall the 4 macromolecules to understand thoroughly our discussion. Note that the polymer is a long chain of repeating subunits that are more or less identical. First is the nucleic acids, polymers of nucleotides. Second is the proteins, polymers of amino acids. Third is the carbohydrates, polymers of sugars. And lastly is the lipids, polymers of fatty acids. Nucleic acids. The basic structure and function of DNA is conservative across DAXA, and is one of the most unifying characters of life on Earth. There is nothing significantly different about plant DNA, compared to that of other TAXA, other than the instructions encoded in plant DNA. As in animals, ATP and GTP, components of nucleic acids, when in polymer form, are the energy currency of the cell. Their high-energy phosphate bonds yield 7.3 kcal/mol upon hydrolysis. Proteins. In most organisms, protein comprises more than 50% of the biomass of the individual. In plants, however, cellulose makes up the bulk of the organism, with protein coming in a distant second. Like other organisms, plants use about 20 different kinds of amino acids to construct their unique proteins. But there is nothing significantly different about plant proteins compared with those of other organisms. Carbohydrates. In animals, carbohydrates are used primarily for short-term energy storage. In plants, however, carbohydrates are not only used for energy storage, but also make up the main structure of the organism itself. Simple carbohydrates, sugars. The 3 most abundant simple sugars synthesized by plants are glucose, the primary sugar used for energy and cellular respiration. In animals and many other organisms, it's also the primary transport sugar moved around via the bloodstream, or other transport systems, in the body, but not in plants. Sucrose, the major transport sugar in plants, is intimately involved with water movement through phloem, as we'll see later. Fructose, another storage sugar, primarily sequestered in aqueous solution as polysaccharides called fructans. The simplest carbohydrates are monosaccharides, which consist of a single carbon ring. Next up are the disaccharides, consisting of 2 carbon rings. Complex carbohydrates. Chains of sugar molecules may be manufactured by the plant, and these are known as polysaccharides. Short-chain polysaccharides are known as oligosaccharides. Oligos is Greek, for short. Manufacture of sugar polymers requires the removal of one O from one sugar, and an H from the other, which join to form a molecule of water. These are done through the process of hydrolysis and dehydration. Starch is one of the defining biological macromolecules of plantae, and its closest relatives. Starch, a polymer of glucose, comes in 2 forms: amylose, unbranched chain of glucose; amylopectin, branched glucose chains, similar to glycogen, but not as branched, and is used for long-term energy storage, sequestered as starch granules inside plant cells. Fructans are another storage polysaccharide, but these are composed primarily of fructose. After starch and sucrose, fructans are probably the most abundant storage carbohydrates in plants. Synthesized from fructose and sucrose in the plant vacuoles, fructans may be linear or branched, with a basic trisaccharide structure known as a kestose, fructose and sucrose polymer. Cellulose is the most abundant organic molecule on the planet. Cellulose is found in the form of microfibrils that make up the main structural molecules of the plant cell wall. Like starch, cellulose is a polymer of glucose. But a subtle shift in chemical structure changes it from highly digestible nutrient into the perfect structural material for plants. Lipids. These are molecules composed primarily of single or branched fatty acid chains. Fats are nonpolar and hydrophobic, and thus are neither soluble nor miscible in water. Cutans, polymers of short fatty acids. These are unique to plants. Waxes, polymers of long fatty acids triglycerides, 3 fatty acid chains bound to a single molecule of glycerol phospholipids, 2 fatty acid chains BOUN, to a single molecule of glycerol, and a phosphate group. Organic compounds. Plants produce a huge, diverse assemblage of organic compounds such as those above as well as many others. Organic compounds may be produced by plants to serve as pigments, fragrances, hormones, defensive compounds, poisons, venoms. All these are derived from that single product of photosynthesis, 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, P-gal. Hence, a plant needs only CO2, H2O, sunlight, and some soil minerals, macro and micronutrients, in order to survive and thrive. A plant is the complete autotroph. Plants respire, of course, just as animals and other heterotrophs do. But heterotrophs rely on autotrophs for life, and could not survive without them. Plants produce the essential nutrients needed by heterotrophs to serve as coenzymes, cofactors, etc. Vitamins. Plants produce all the vitamins they need to serve as enzymatic cofactors. Animals, however, either never had the metabolic ability to produce these things, or have lost them via mutations. Such mutations would be lethal in a plant, but an animal can survive, or even benefit, from such a genetic change as long as it can eat plants to provide the lost nutrient. Humans and other primates cannot produce vitamin C, though many animals can. Hence, we suffer from scurvy, bleeding gums, joint swelling, and pain, weight loss, etc., if deprived of our necessary ascorbic acid. The one nutrient needed by animals that plants do not manufacture is cholesterol. Herbivores must be able to metabolically manufacture cholesterol, whereas carnivores can obtain it by eating herbivores. The farther up the food chain an animal is, the less deleterious as might be to lose a nutrient synthetic pathway, since the organism's prey, or host, will likely provide the necessary nutrients. It's a delicate balance between saving energy via loss of synthetic pathways, versus the risk of nutrient deficiency, in a nutrient-poor environment. Secondary metabolites. Plant defense. Plants are literally rooted to the spot. They can't flee predators/herbivores. But that certainly doesn't mean they are defenseless. Plants are masters of chemical warfare. Metabolites are just what the name implies, compounds made via metabolic reactions. Primary metabolites are those found in all cells, and are necessary for normal cellular function and energy transduction. They include the biological macromolecules and simple sugars. Secondary metabolites are complex chemical compounds that are not found in every cell, and not found in every species of plant. Once thought to be waste products of metabolism, they are now known to be vital for many plant functions, including analog to animal neurotransmitters, albeit to lots lower, natural antibiotics, meant to benefit the plant. Herbivore deterrents. Allelopathic compounds. Pollinator attractants. Seed disperser attractants. Protection from harmful UV radiation like animal hormones. Plant secondary metabolites are usually produced in a specific location of the plant, and then transported for storage, usually in vacuum.